In this video, we're going to discuss the performance assessment task, commonly known as the PAT. In this, I'm just going to discuss the main ideas and more the rules behind and kind of my advice on how to choose your topic, because I know it is a very daunting task, and everyone wants to come up with the best topic they've ever thought of in their life, but more often than not, it's actually just more simple to just stay with something not easy to do, but that can be implemented with the set of skills that you have learned throughout your 3 years at school. The main scope of the PAT is to have a user interface program that makes use of classes and objects to be able to store and manipulate data. Um, the project can't be small, like a little hangman game or something like that. And also, the project can't be too simple. Um, so yeah, and then coming up will be some examples that one can look at, and maybe just to give you more of an idea of that the programs don't have to be too complicated. So here we're going to talk about some topics in the requirements. These are what were suggested, well, mainly the main topics such as game, business management system, and real world problem. I've come up with some simple ideas, whereas the business management problem one isn't too simple. It may be too high of a level for matrics at this stage, but the main idea is in all of them is to have a sign-in platform which can store data, store passwords, and store a user, and then for that user to be able to make use of the platform to manipulate a different type of data within it. So if we look at Snake Game, for example, we can store all the scores that a user that has created an account, they can make a score, and then that score gets stored. And now their high score gets compared to everyone else's high score, and then there can be a global ranking of all the high scores. And this is an example of making use of more than one data type to be able to compare and manipulate the information, and for that information to be stored long term so that other users can now compare themselves to previous users that have played. The business management system is fairly not so simple, although I call it a simple trading platform. I guess the idea is simple, where a user can sign in. The program will have to make use of web scraping, which can web scrape stock prices from a certain site, and then this can allow a user to make investments with credits on their account. Um, I think this will be a good practice to do, but I think it might be a bit too complicated for the PAT, but I think it might be a good idea because I would like to attempt that, and then maybe I'll do a recording and then also put it on the repo so that everyone has access to it. Um, and then the real world problem, I just thought of a simple way to have an online shop where you have your products in your shop, and then your manipulation of your data that's stored can be your stock check and your stock management, such as when do you need to get new stock of certain products, and how often are the products sold, and then when the products are sold it needs to be deducted from your database, and small things like that. So that's just a main idea of if you can think of a topic to do or topic to run. The main focus of the project I'm going to be doing, or I'm going to be basing all my ideas and all my feedback off, is a basic NetBeans application. Um, More often than not, you need to research your problems before you even start, and this will mean that you need to try and avoid plagiarism as much as possible, because 20% plagiarism is it's not a lot that you can use from other projects. And also, when looking for a project, not really having an idea, you can go to the National Development Plan for 2030, and that gives a lot of areas that are lacking, which can give you an opportunity to find a project that can assist in the country, for example. Because if your project's good enough, they could even ask you to implement it in a like in a national scale. Um, but yeah, that's for overachievers. Here we trying to scrape by, we're trying to get the marks, get 100% and be happy and move on. Um, But yeah, so suitable programming languages. This was in the document that I had, but I recommend using Java. It's easiest to stick to what you've been learning, and something simple that can meet all the requirements, which will be best and can be done using Java and NetBeans. Some criteria of it is your main, like your problem specification and motivation, needs to solve real world problems as much as possible. At this point, I'm kind of reading off here, which you can do. So the main thing is you need to have an idea and also a reasoning why you would want to do that idea. Because more often than not, those ideas and those programs have already been created. So what makes it unique to you that you would like to create this? In the document, they do say that you can use a user interface or text-based interface, but I highly recommend having your user interface being a graphical user interface, which is easy to use and easy to navigate. The data persistence and storage, more often than not, I know from when I was in school, it was forced upon us to use Access, and so I had helped. I tutored someone last year and used text files, which was a lot simpler for the kind of work that I was doing in that project. But this is where it makes it very useful to know that you can use text files. You don't always have to use a database, a SQL database, or NoSQL graph database, or something like that. Although it's not difficult to implement a SQL database or a graph database, but text files sometimes are a lot easier to use in the case where your program is a simpler program. And just maybe a couple notes from me. It's never too late to change your idea. Well, maybe if it's too late, then no, you can't. But currently it's the 3rd of June. So if you've seen this during your holiday, and your project, because I know when you have the best idea, you want to get it done. You think that you're actually going to be using it after school. Not even that. You just think you have the greatest idea. More often than not, it turns out that to actually implement that idea is very complicated, and having the skills to do that you may need a couple more years of experience. Whereas now, like you can start again, start in something simple, start in something that can be implemented with the skills you have learned in school.